everybody, to the Backroad. It is In Between Media's show all about NASCAR. And if things seem a little bit weird to you today because there's no Seth, there's no Elliot, there's no Jared, that's okay because they gave me the keys to the car today. I am your host for the show, Rod Villagomez, and riding shotgun with me is Derek Yoder, who hosts the NASCAR Gambling Review Show. I mean, the guy is on Twitter and he's setting up everything as far as betting is concerned in NASCAR. Derek, welcome to the Backroad, my friend.
What's happening, Rod? Good talking to you again. Thanks for, I'm glad that we're able to do this.
Oh, me too, actually. Welcome back to the Backroad. Let's put it that way.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, my second opportunity of being on the show. So pumped to be on this week, talk a little Sonoma and kind of a little bit of a rear view of what we saw. We saw some two crazy races the last 2 weeks. So I'm excited to talk with you tonight.
We have definitely seen some crazy stuff going on. But before we talk about the rear view in the last couple of races, just overall, now that we're just about halfway through the year, just pretty much, you know, races have the first half of the first half, I suppose, is over. Yeah. Overall, what's your takeaway of this season?
Well, I think the Gen 7 car is as good as advertised. I mean, I think it's been everything that we could have expected. The racing's close. I think the biggest thing for me is that, like, the 1.5 mile tracks, you don't have that car getting 15 seconds out in front, and then the second place and third place having trouble catching it. So it's made the racing a lot more competitive. Passing has been a challenge, but it's so competitive that you have to be. We saw it on Sunday up at Gateway where, Logano, they had the onboard, which I thought was really a good move by Fox. They had the onboard of Logano chasing down Kyle Busch for like 10 laps in a row. And you could see every single time, how he was trying to work the angle and trying to get that position. And it just shows how close to perfection they are every time, because he was having a difficult time catching him, caught a break with the caution, and his teammate Ryan Blaney gave him a nice little shot into turn one to kind of get the win and get a little jump. So I've been really enjoying it from the short tracks, intermediates, super speedways. Atlanta was cool to see that. I actually was a fan of it. I know there were many that maybe weren't. I think the super speedway element on an intermediate track is really neat. So I think it's been awesome, and I can't wait for this summer series of tracks that we have coming up as we make that, stretch to the Daytona in August.
Isn't it crazy though that we literally aren't even done with the season at all? Like, we still have the summer, and then we have the fall. Like, we have all this amazing racing in the spring, and we still have 2 more seasons worth of racing to go. It blows my mind. So
you're absolutely correct. It's incredible to think that we have so much more racing to go.
We sure do, but we had racing that just happened. So let us take a look in the rear view. We got some folks on our bumper we need to talk about. Well, Denny Hamlin saw quite a bit of stuff happening in his rearview mirror a couple of weeks ago at the Coke 600. I mean, I have seen, and I know you have, Derek, some races in this time that we've watched NASCAR, but that had to have been the most ridiculous race I've seen. Obviously, it was the longest race in NASCAR history as far as distance is concerned, and just out and out craziness happened. It was the Coke 600 slated, but it ended up being like the Coke 900 by the time we were all done.
Yeah, I was actually at the race for that race weekend with the trucks, Xfinity and Cup. And it was just crazy to be a part of that, like that crown jewel event. And I wish everybody could see, I hope everybody is able to get out to a race, because it's really an exciting time to be a part of the sport, especially from a fan perspective. But if you can get to one of the crown jewel races like Darlington or Charlotte, like I was, it was incredible to see all the campers, all the fans, the excitement, the buzz, and then being at the venue or at the track, and everything that they did for the Memorial Day and how they honor everybody. And it's just like, you just feel that passion. It really feels like America there. I was in the sun deck, and it's just so cool to the speed of the cars, again, how close they are, the proximity. And it was a wild race. Absolutely wild.
It really was. And Elliot, yes, we're thinking of you, buddy. We miss you. That
Yep.
was. And see, that's the thing we've been saying all season long is that these races, some of them, like you had said in the intro, they stretch out, and sometimes you were building up a 13-second lead and there was no actual just drama. This year, it's like almost all drama. Like every lap has some sort of drama in it, on it, around it. And we just saw at the end of that Coke 600 that big one. I again, we talk about big ones, but we usually think of Talladega or the speedways. And here we're talking about it at the Coke 600. Like that does not happen. So that took out a ton of cars, ton of good cars too.
Yeah, and that was one of a couple big ones that we saw. I mean, the first one happening in the turn 1 and 2 where Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, William Byron, still hurts me. I had a couple of head-to-heads there. And then Buescher, wrecking on the front stretch. So many cars spinning out off of turn 4, which is where I was. That was crazy. And then obviously the big wreck with Dillon, Logano, Suarez. I mean, there was just everybody. It was crazy. It was a wild, wild race.
Literally half the field gone. Like from 19th place on, we're all wrecked out. The only driver that actually ended up running that finished worse than some of the folks that got crashed out was Kaz Grala. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, after Kaz Grala, everybody crashed out. 3 above him crashed out. Wow. And yet still, Kaz Grala finished 23rd in the race. Worse than Joey Logano, Cole Custer, and Austin Dillon. But yeah, I mean, for Denny, this was, I don't want to say redemption. We were on the Fade Denny train for so long on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast that it's almost laughable at this point. But for Denny to find himself in that position to end up winning, it says a lot about what the style of racing is this season. And for Kevin Harvick to sneak into 3rd place, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, and you mentioned about Denny. I've been on the Denny side. This bad luck, his speed, and his ability to be in almost every race. It's just he's bitten himself with bad luck. His pit road issues. Obviously, we know the issue that he had at Vegas when he was in the lead, pitted, and then threw it in the wrong gear and ended his day. So he's had a lot of bad luck, and that was Again, I'll say it. I think he's worth a championship look. If anybody's able to get any futures on that, because he's just been so fast, been so good. And I think he's got some promising tracks here coming up, definitely in the playoffs, that you could capitalize on that.
Muscle memory is a thing. As much as we talk about the fact that the new cars throw a wrench into the way that the drivers used to perform. I mean, you can't necessarily rely totally on track history anymore because of the fact that this new car makes it all different. But there's muscle memory, and you play video games enough, and that's why they do the simulators, right? They make themselves go around the track so many times that they can visualize what's happening before it actually happens. Yeah, you get behind the car, crazy things are going to happen, but when you're actually going around and you see this, okay, I'm going to hit this mark, I'm going to hit this, it still plays out. And I think what you need to do is get comfortable with the car in order to make muscle memory work better for you. And that's what these veterans are starting to do, because in the beginning, we saw a lot of new drivers, Ross Chastain's of the world. We even saw Austin Cindric win the Daytona 500. We saw all that new shiny stuff, but now the vets are starting to kick back in again. I think it's catching up.
Yeah, and I think too, and Hendrick is a big, you got to give him a credit, because he allowed guys like Larson, Chase, Bowman, and Byron to do a lot of racing outside the Cup Series, not just in the Xfinity or trucks, but like dirt tracks, short track racing. And that, like you said about that muscle memory, but that mentality when you start winning, especially if you're doing like dirt, like Larson and Chase and Bowman are, that there's just a special element that you can then apply to car control, in the Cup Series, that I think is extremely hard to gain any type of, perspective of when you're doing the simulation in the, in the building with the track components and all that. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's a really cool tool.
Elliot makes a good point too in the comments. He said that it's a good race and you almost want to think about turning away from the Roval. I'm okay with that. the road course oval thing. I don't know. Maybe it's played out a little bit, but I do like giving the All-Star race back to Charlotte because Texas was not the best track for that.
Yeah, I think, and I said this on my show, the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, that ultimately I think it goes back. It feels like all roads are leading to North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race at some point. At least we all hope. But I think going back to Charlotte, especially with what I witnessed, I mean, when I was on pit road and I was looking out in the stands, I was like, man, I remember seeing this one so many times on TV with the All-Star race, especially like 2001 when Gordon wrecked and it was raining, or Gordon wrecked and it was raining, and then he came back and won. And it's like there's just such an excitement, and you can even feel it from the team members because they're staying at their houses. They're their commute is very small, so that is sending the teams to Texas. Yeah, probably not do that. I mean, it's just not really been a good reputation down there. They ruined the track. So, bring it home. But the Roval, just real quick, I think keeping the Roval in the playoffs is a really good touch because it brings that excitement, brings that viewership, and brings the, not just from a handicapping standpoint, but like just from a viewership, because we got to compete with the NFL and those kind of sports during that time. So I like the Roval. It's just different. It's unique. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, and you think of all the road racers that thrive, and to put that type of a road race into the playoffs, you're right, it's a nice wrinkle. It's something that most people will tune in for because it's a little different than what they're used to, especially in the back half of the field. But I mean, we have seen new tracks, we have seen new distances, we have seen all kinds of new this season. And, for the Coke 600 to end the way it did, just really solidified to me how, just like we said at the top of the show, how awesome the racing has been this season and how much more entertained I am this year as I was compared to the last few years that I've watched.
Yep. And that plays right into the, viewership element. People are talking about the sport, and it's key. So Charlotte was definitely a huge win and a huge hit, and glad that Denny was able to pull it off.
And you stayed the whole time.
I stayed for as long as I could. Yeah. Yep. So I stayed as long as I could. But it was just a while. I mean, it was 3 hours for the first half of the race. So, I still have my ticket. So it's, I was there. So it was just it was just wild altogether. It was crazy.
I want to touch on Kyle Larson's performance there because I wrote an article about it. You can find it on the IBT website, and I don't normally self-promote, but Kyle Larson in this race, basically the IBT is all about melding life and sports together, right? There is no greater lesson in life than Kyle Larson's run at the Coke 600. For the first 300 miles of that race, he had it was like a Greek Odyssey. I mean, it was literally everything but the Cyclops was thrown at him. The sirens were going out. Like everything was happening that was against him. He stuck it through, man. And at the end, were it not for that wreck, he probably could have won that race just from the sheer fact of him not giving up, the crew not giving up, and the race playing out the way it did. Hats off to Kyle Larson, man. If there's ever a singular better NASCAR performance out there, I want to see it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when they said, he went through all the things that he did, and for anybody that is trying to catch up with what we're saying, I do highly recommend you go back and listen to that audio, because Cliff Daniels, his crew chief, was saying, hey, listen, I'm going to give you till 30 laps until it's halfway. Then we all reset. The crew resets. We reset. You reset as a driver. And that was so cool to hear, because it wasn't like him getting on the driver saying, hey, I need you now. He was giving him that leeway to say, hey, I'm going to give you time to reset. We have a long race to go. And then when we do, we're going to go out and win this thing. And when I heard that at the track, because they played that audio on the sound system, I was like, whoa, you're saying it to that guy who's arguably the best, most talented driver. He finds the most speed week in and week out. And you say that to that driver, you get him motivated in that way, and you gave him that leeway where he fired himself up. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And he did. He responded. That's exactly what it was. Speaking of responding, Joey Logano mixed up in that wreck at 405, turns around and wins him another race at another new track. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Joey Logano wins at a new track in NASCAR as he wins at the Worldwide Technology Raceway over there in Madison. It's the first time the Cup racers I've
Yeah.
raced it. Obviously, the trucks and the old Busch Series and Xfinity Series racers have taken to the track before. But the Cup race, this is the first race that they ever ran there. And, of course, Joey Logano does it because that's what Joey Logano does.
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, he wins out at the Coliseum this year as his first race. He said Bristol Dirt last year, and I thought he said there was another one. I know one of the reporters asked him, but like, I mean, he had the fastest car in practice. He would have had the pole in qualifying had he not slipped up in turn 3. And then it took him to 50 to go to get the lead. So just really interesting to see, kind of how that played out. But I think the best car definitely won from the weekend. I may or may not have been on him to win. I was on Hamlin also to win. So I'm riding a 2 little back-to-back outright streak there. So it's I thought the racing was great. The stages were perfect. That shorter kind of racing, got to get it to the front quick. We saw a lot of drama with some of the drivers, and it had everything. So it was crazy.
It was almost like because I had just watched Driven a couple of weeks ago, with Sly Stallone, and I was like, man, this is playing out almost exactly like that kind of a situation where Ross Chastain just played the bad guy. Didn't mean to. I don't think. I wholeheartedly don't think that he meant to be as aggressive as he was. But the adrenaline flows. We talked about it a little bit on the gambling podcast, myself and Cody as well, in that those 300 miles, okay, if that would have happened to Kyle Larson, that race would have been over. Like that's it, right? I was half of the race of Charlotte the week before. So they didn't have a lot of time to make up for mistakes. They had to go. And so you could see that pressure build on these guys as they realized what was going on. And poor Ross Chastain just, I think, hit the pedal a little too heavy and made a lot of enemies.
Yeah, he did, and we'll see him in 2 featured matchups this week against Chase Elliott and against Denny Hamlin. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how that storyline plays out. But I tell you what, I mean, he even said it too. Like he had an entire caution to kind of get his mind reset, and then he dumps Chase off of turn 4, and it's like, man, that's a bad day, and he ruined a lot of people's days. So. But that's something for us all to remember, because those storylines will still need to be played out, and that payback will happen at some point, since he's solidified in the playoffs, and since both drivers are Chase and Denny, that could probably be a playoff payback.
I know I have road rage. Okay. My kids know I got road rage. Like there's no hiding any of that. But that at 170 some odd miles an hour, I mean, just to watch that kind of stuff play out. This isn't on the freeway where you're jockeying with somebody and switching lanes and everything. This is literally traveling at speeds that could do you some damage. And they're over there trying to run each other off the road. It was a crazy race altogether. And I liked it from a standpoint of, it was, and we did say it was a lot like Phoenix in the way that it was set up and the way that it ran, but it just had a different wrinkle to it, and it just felt a lot more racy than even a Phoenix was earlier this season.
Well, I think too, because the tire component that Goodyear brought was the same tire code at Richmond and Phoenix. So I think just the teams being able to have that, they got 50 minutes and 3 sets of tires in practice for Gateway. I think having all those notes compiled, it really just, like you said, made it a little bit more racier. I think if we go back there next year, teams are obviously going to have it figured out a little bit more. So will Goodyear with some of their tire codes that they might bring. But I love the racing action. I thought it was great. There was enough passing, I felt like, or guys, kind of like an old school, maybe even like a Bristol, where you kind of had to move somebody, had to get really close to their, panel and just kind of assert yourself, if you will.
You had to get the nudge in there. But and you talked about close racing. I mean, the margin of victory was 0.655 seconds. Yeah. Logano just barely beat Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle had a shot. A little over a half a second. Kyle had a shot a couple of times. But like you had said, talking about the camera in the
Joey Logano.
Logano set up the pass. It took a while too. This isn't one like you could just get around him. He had to literally get there.
And it was so cool to see, because they were running once Joey figured out turns 3 and 4. And again, I was rooting for him pretty hard. I was trying to communicate some, some way to his helmet, run that middle of 3 and 4 because that was his best line. But it was just impressive to see even that he was racing. Him and Kyle raced each other very clean, which I thought was very respectable. They have had previous history, so and Joey's not always the cleanest of drivers, neither is Kyle, but they just raced each other so well, and they really fought for that little bit, 2-3 inches that they had. But Joey, like I said, Joey had the best car in practice qualifying. It finally showed in that last 50 laps. Getting that caution was good. I think he still would have caught him. Maybe would have been a photo finish, but yeah, I mean, it was a tremendous race. I hope this series goes back there. I don't see how they can't. With what we saw as fans, being, watching it from the TV, of hearing all the excitement, all the buzz, and the product on the track seemed to be perfect for me.
Hey, even that truck race was great too.
Yep.
There, it was a very entertaining truck race. Other than the fact that all of those trucks got torn up in the end, anyways. But still, shout out to Fords and Toyotas though, dominating the top 10. The first Chevy, believe it or not, if you would have bet Eric Jones as the top Chevrolet, you probably would have made a pretty decent bank that day. But Eric Jones ended up the first Chevy in 7th place. Ross Chastain right beneath them, and AJ Allmendinger coming from the truck race, or not the truck race, coming from Portland, the road race over there, all the way down to Illinois, and getting him some love in top 10 in top 10 in the Cup race the next day.
And shout out Zane Smith, finishing 17th, I believe it was, in the 17 car, filling in for Chris Buescher. I mean, that was impressive to see what a guy that has to be thrown in and what he can do in this new vehicle. I think that really is a testament to the car, obviously his talent, but the car as well. So shout out to Zane Smith.
I agree. That was a decent showing by him for sure, for jumping in that car the way he had to. I like Elliot's comment here. The mind games. It was bad. Yeah, it's easy to just dump a guy. It really is. But if you're going to sit there and make your car 5 lanes wide, especially with a guy who already knows that he's done wrong, it's bad. As we finish up our thoughts, I know we talk about the Cup races all the time, but Elliot makes a good point as well in the chat that Carson Hocevar, thoughts are with him. Poor guy, man. That had a truck that could win that race and just did not finish the game.
Yeah, a young driver that's been close, knocking on the door a few times, and we sometimes take these wrecks for granted with the vehicles, the way that they're built. But I mean, he took a hard shot in the driver's side door, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery back. So I know he's pivotal for that movement in the truck series. So hopefully he can come back very soon.
I'm sure he will. The guy's, he looks like a tough kid. He looks like he can take this stuff. All right. Well, we got 2 fantastic weeks of racing behind us, but ahead of us, bright, beautiful California sun coming up in the horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
As a resident of California, I can tell you right now that is not how it's going to look in Sonoma as we hit the Toyota Save Mart 350 at the Sonoma Raceway. I got to tell you, Derek, that last season was not only my first Sonoma race, but my first NASCAR race ever. And I could not have asked for a better situation than to be in Sonoma, 1, which is not that far away from where I live, and 2, be able to have the type of access that I had to that race. And that road race, I know that in an oval, you're in the stands and you can watch the cars go around and see it the whole way through. But I don't know what it is, but maybe it's the anticipation of knowing that they're going to come around that chicane and just, hit around the hairpin and come at you on the front stretch, that that you're waiting for the thunderous car, just of all the cars. So yeah, Sonoma, man, it's a great race. It always has been. And I think this is only the second road race of the season, believe it or not.
Yeah, and we are in store for a few more to come. But a road track or a road course is definitely on my bucket list to get to. The closest road course for me would be Watkins Glen, which time and time again I hear is the best place to go, one of the best places to go. So I want to get out to see what that action is like, since I've experienced the super speedway end at Daytona, was just at Charlotte, been to Atlanta, Dover, a couple other places. So I want to see what that element's like. But yeah, I mean, really excited with the series going back to another road course. Last one we went to was Coda, where we were just talking about him, but Ross Chastain got his first win. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens this weekend. And you're going to be at the race, is that correct?
I will be there. I logged into the credential system the other day and it said approved. So I will definitely be there for my second year in a row. Looking forward to getting back there and just enjoying. Now that I know what's going on, now that I know how everything lays out. And to be honest, it's crazy because the garage area is not that far away from the track, to be honest with you, in this. I don't know what it's like in other tracks, but the garage area is just literally, I mean, you can walk a couple of feet and be to the track. So I was bouncing back and forth between the garage area and the track about as much as possible. And it was, there was people that stayed up in the media place the whole time, and I was like, how do you stay up there? Like I'm like right next to Chase Elliott's pit crew, like literally I almost grabbed the gun and was like, let's go, but that would have cost me the press.
They didn't let you. Yeah, that was the wrong pass. Yeah, no, it sounds comparable to how some of the other tracks are with that, the pits and the garage right there. But I mean, that's really cool to hear from your experience and how you enjoyed it first time and going back again. And I think you're going to see firsthand, and I think we as fans are going to see on TV really good action. I know the tire codes are different than they were at Coda, so it'll be interesting to see how that does. I know they're doing one set for practice, one set for qualifying, and then I believe it was 6 sets for the race. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because that's been a big deal with this new car, 18 inches. And, you never know. We've talked a lot about tires, not for the best possible reasons the last few weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's played out on a road course.
Which, I mean, again, that is probably one of the biggest things that we're going to see in the biggest test of this tire, because Sonoma has got a lot of just danger zones, if I can steal a phrase from Archer. It does. It's just got a ton of spots where it'll chew through you, and it'll, we've seen that these cars can take a beating. So I'm not worried about the banging, and because we saw it at Coda too, where some of the hits that those cars took would have probably taken out a car back in the day, or at least cut a tire. So we're not seeing that as often right now, but it's just the tires in general. Like we're seeing a lot of them just go out. And so you are going down the backstretch of Sonoma. You don't want to pop a tire on that backstretch. You don't want to cut a tire back there, because then you're going straight into the wall. And I could tell you that's probably not very forgiving.
No, I don't think it is. And you mentioned with, like, even if one of the guys cut a tire nowadays with this car, when you cut a tire, yes, they've kind of figured out a little bit since we were at Auto Club a number of months back, but even cutting a tire now, the whole diffuser and all those elements back there are very fragile, and you ruin one of those, you're done for your day. Versus before, you could maybe kind of coast in. If there was damage, you patch it up and go. Now it's like, wow, we got to really baby that whole thing, getting it back to pit road. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of names, probably a lot of names. There's a lot of road course. Can we call them ringers? That was a term we used back in the day, road course ringers. Chase Elliott obviously has won on every single road course venue that the NASCAR Cup Series visits, except Sonoma. So maybe he gets that victory this week. Larson, you saw him win in person last year. Then he went on to win 2 more, 3 total last year. So I think there's going to be a lot of players, Cindric, Briscoe, AJ, just to name a few. Don't sleep on Byron. I know his finishes don't look good there, but his qualifying efforts do. So with this car and with his now maturity in the sport, I think he could be a player as well. It's definitely with the HMS power. Yeah.
And look, bring back Boris said to me.
Yeah.
I want to see Boris said again. So let's see. Coop running 2 different tire codes, first time ever. Yep.
Yep, exactly, Coop. Yeah, and Coop is always on as well. But that goes exactly with what I was saying about the two different tire codes. Since we haven't seen these, it's not the same one that we saw brought over from Coda. Two different tire codes, like we were saying, and Coop mentioned. Shout out Coop. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
You look at Coda, right? Chastain obviously got his first win. Bowman came in second. Elliott came in fourth, which you talked about it too, and I wrote it up too in one of my articles where Chase Elliott basically 7 career road course wins in his career. Already has him tied or pretty much third on the list right now of all time. So in this short, time span, Elliott's dominated road courses, and he came in second last season in Sonoma. So, it's just he was right there, but just couldn't get around his teammate. His teammate had such a fantastic day and a fantastic lead by the end of that race that there was nobody getting around him. Even though there was a couple of cautions that tried to get him that win.
Kind of bring everybody back together, but we didn't. The cool thing now, looking back then, is Larson to win on a road course was like the most surprising thing I think anybody saw. Obviously, then he rattled off 2 more, but and then he obviously became the champion, had the most wins in the season. So that's interesting always to kind of look back. But I think we'll see a lot of, like I said, we're going to see a lot of new faces, different names up there. We talk about the top 16 making the playoffs. This is a week where somebody could sneak their way in. I mean, there's the cars are so close now, the teams, everything's so competitive that tire strategy, pit strategy, etc. It could really mix some things up on Sunday.
I'm not going to take for granted that we're going to see the same type of race that we've seen even in the past. I'm looking forward to watching it firsthand, and then I'll look forward to watching it on the broadcast after I get home. But to experience it firsthand, So from a fantasy standpoint, I don't know if anybody's still running a fantasy season in NASCAR. If you still are, you look back at some of these guys that have won here before. Kyle Larson, obviously, we talked about it last season. But, okay, I'm sorry. I still have a soft spot for Martin Truex Jr., okay? I do. I know the guy's probably close to retirement. I know Cody beats me over the head every single week and tells me Martin Truex is done. Okay, he probably is. But I'm going to tell you right now, he won 2 times before Kyle Larson won. And, you can never really count him fully out of a road race. And even at Sonoma, where he finished 3rd last year.
Yeah, Martin Truex is definitely a name that a lot of people are talking about. What's he going to do next year? And but road courses were more of his bread and butter. We saw his, he started having a little bit more. I mean, short tracks, he hadn't won on a short track forever till he finally achieved that. So road courses, I think I saw a stat for him at Sonoma alone. I think 3 of his last 6 races at Sonoma he won, something like that. And you were mentioning this maybe like 20 minutes prior. It's just that mental repetition, just that mental capacity of remembering, okay, this is a spot, this is my mark, this is how we're good. And Cole Pern is going to be the crew chief this weekend, so that'll be interesting to see that those two reunite. But I'm going to let you maybe just kind of run the MTJ mantle this week.
It's all right. I'm already the bearer of all the old drivers at this point, because Kevin Harvick is a name that is splashing in victory lane here as well. He finished 22nd last year. I remember watching them carry out his Busch Light hood from the track and have to redo a whole thing for him. So I'm not saying they're going to win, but I got a soft spot in my heart for some of these guys, man. It's, just like Elliott also just said now, Truex wouldn't surprise me. He knows that he's not long for this series anymore. Money's probably not an issue for him. He's probably ready to just go ahead and maybe own a team, maybe go watch his kids or other kids run go-karts. I don't know. There's a lot of options for a guy like Martin Truex Jr., and I'm pretty sure the track is not one of them for very long.
Yeah, and Elliot makes a good point in the comments. Cole Pern is going to be the engineer, not the crew chief. He was Martin's former crew chief when he won the championship, had tons of success. So good call out there. Definitely from an that does make a difference from an engineer standpoint to a crew chief. So Cole Pern will be the engineer this week. So good call out there.
Watch out for Joey Logano, though. 4th place finish last year. Sonoma has not necessarily been his best track, but there's a lot to be said about momentum, and there's a lot to be said about doing it with this kind of car that they're driving right now. And Joey Logano seems to have some confidence and some momentum going right now to where he can turn that 4th place finish from last year into a victory almost as easily. We'll have to see how the qualifying shakes out for Joey, but let's not count him out.
Okay. It's not a new track, so I feel like since it's not a new track for Joey, not going to win this week. But who knows? They're going back to the old configuration actually, which I think is really cool. Last couple years, I think it was the last 2 years, they tried a different configuration at the track, and they're going to revert back to what they did for so many years. So maybe, I guess, to a degree, maybe he'll win a stage since it's a new configuration. Maybe put some money down for him to win a stage.
Well, I mean, look, it's Joey Logano. You can take him or leave it. You probably didn't bet him last week. Well, you did. So
I did.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, I guess toss a little bit down. I was looking at it, and we're going to talk about it in the next segment. But yeah, I mean, for Joey Logano, it's just a matter of maybe he could turn that 4th place into a win. I don't know. I don't drive these cars. I just know I watch them go around, all around. So yeah, I mean, look, Sonoma's going to be fun. It always is. Road courses are always a blast. Like I said, I will follow me on Twitter. You can see the handle up there at RJ Villagomez. I will continue to feed you some live footage and live pictures from the venue. But before we move on to some of the reason why we're loving NASCAR this year is the betting aspect of it. Do you see a long shot, I guess, in our language? Is there a long shot out there like a Chastain for Coda? I mean, you've done your research for this already. What are you looking at in long shots?
Eric Jones is a long shot. Eric Jones right now is a guy, he's finished. He has some good finishes. We definitely know his speed's been there this year. When it comes to, the intermediate tracks, I mean, we just saw didn't you just read off his name for top finishing Chevy?
Yeah.
So Eric Jones would be a guy that I would consider a long shot. 40-1 currently, plus 1,100 to finish top 3, plus 500 to finish top 5. So I know I'm going to get on some action in Eric Jones this weekend as the numbers continue to kind of come out. But Eric Jones would be a long shot for me that I would highlight now.
So a Ross Chastain-ish type finish.
Yeah,
Eric Jones, 11th place here last season, and then at Coda ended up pulling a 9th place finish. So yeah, I mean, right there around the top 10. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him. So well, let's continue to break that stuff down as we talk about racing in our parking. Talking props in the parking garage. Perfect person to do it with too, Derek Yoder, as a NASCAR gambling aficionado. Every week on Twitter has himself a Twitter space, a Twitter show that breaks down. And you're gonna have some weird guy on there this week, right?
Yeah, we had to really pull from the list, and Rod's going to be on tomorrow night. Again, he mentioned it, Twitter Spaces. You can see my hashtag below, picks by Blaze. Rod's going to join me, Skybox NASCAR, Rory Picks, Full Tank with Phil, 8 p.m. We have a great show. It's an hour in length, and go over the featured matchups. We go over kind of a little bit of a recap. So excited to have Rod on this week. Your first time on the show, and the show's just been growing. And so I appreciate all the support that you show us, and as we continue to grow the platform. I think it's much needed for the industry.
I mean, the IBT family loves them some Picks by Blaze, loves them some Derek Yoder. We appreciate every single thing you do for the sport and for the space. So yeah, I'm going to continue to pat you on the back all day long.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. So garage props, the parking garage props, basically just us laying down some of our favorite bets on the weekend. If you are a NASCAR gambler or so inclined, or maybe you want to start, this is a great week to start. There's a lot of great bets out there. And Derek and I are going to lay out about 3 or 4 of our favorite bets for you, and you can take them or leave them, and we'll tell you what books to find these on if you're a novice bettor. But yeah, I mean, Derek has tons of experience, puts his money where his mouth is every week, and bets these too. It's not just tossing them out. So, Derek, hit me with one of your favorite bets for the weekend.
Yeah, so I'm going to look at a featured matchup, and this is something that we do discuss on the show. But I just saw this on Draft or a Barstool Sportsbook about 10 minutes before we started doing the show here. And at plus money, plus 108, I can get Austin Cindric in a head-to-head versus AJ Allmendinger. I like that plus money side with Cindric. I know that it's AJ, and he's definitely maybe not one driver that I want to pick against, but plus money for Cindric, who I think is in a little bit of better equipment. I think their driving styles really are similar, but I think Cindric is going to be a really stout driver this weekend. So when I saw that plus money come around, that was one bet that I had to jump on.
8th place Cindric was at COTA. So not bad for his Cup Series road course debut. I love it. And yeah.
Well, you mentioned his debut, but he was in the 33 car last year, which was a additional Penske vehicle. So, he had some really good runs. Maybe didn't always get the finishes, but I think just that experience, and we know what he did in Xfinity. I think he had 13 career wins in Xfinity, and 7 were road course wins, somewhere around those lines. So we said about road course ringers, I think from that new branch, that new style, the youth movement, if you will, Austin Cindric plus money in this head-to-head. Yes, please.
We're talking AJ Allmendinger territory there as far as how successful, because AJ Allmendinger just wins road courses in the Xfinity Series. That's all there is to it.
Yep. So, absolutely.
All right. What do we got, Coop? Dinger T Chevy, plus 500.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good number for him right there.
5-1. Yeah. I think he's going to be in the mix. I mean, I'm not really picking against him because he's a weak talent, but AJ, 5-1 ticket to be the best finishing Chevy. Not a bad play there, Coop.
Nope. Not a bad play at all. All right. I love that DraftKings started doing the pole positions. I really do. Those are some of the funnest bets, not just because they're fun to pay attention to and pretty easy, to be honest with you. You literally just watch qualifying and you win. But if you win, you set yourself up for the rest of the weekend, especially with numbers like the guy I'm going to offer up right now. Cody and I usually say that there's not a lot of value a lot of times in betting the favorites. But in this instance, I'm sorry, but at plus 500 for Kyle Larson to win the pole, that's plus 500 to win the pole. Why am I telling you this? Because over the last 4 times that he's qualified at this track, guess where he's qualified? First on the pole. The guy's got a track record of it. And we're not talking like 4 races within a 2-year span or maybe a 3-year span. No, we're talking 4 races in 5 years, really, because 2020 didn't happen. So over the last 4 races dating back to 2017, the man is sat on the pole. Doesn't matter what kind of car. He was in the 42. He was in the 5. Like, doesn't matter. The guy qualifies on the pole in Sonoma. Plus 500, that's like free money.
Yeah, that's kind of what Coop was saying about the plus 500 for AJ Allmendinger. I mean, when you back those stats up, it'll be interesting to see what happens, especially when we are able to see practice. But, doing that homework that you did, looking at the historical data, who knows? Like you said, I mean, if you hit that, you're kind of setting yourself up for race weekend. So could be a good play.
I think it's a fantastic play because, again, I don't, and to me, it doesn't matter really what the whole setup is. He's just fast at Sonoma. I mean, he really is. And he's shown it time and time again, obviously leading 57 laps all last season. It was a dominating performance if ever there was one. And if somebody's going to be able to do that again, it's going to be Kyle Larson, because don't you just feel like he's been chipping away at another big run like he did last season where he had like 3 wins in a row?
Yes and no. I mean, I think, if we kind of look back at Kyle's career and some of the, before he was winning last year like he was, it was a little bit of an up and down. He had all this momentum, all this excitement, and then was finally able to start closing the deal. But his talent level was certainly there. I'm not sure I'm not sure if he has that edge this year like he did last year with this new car, especially with so many more guys now in the mix week in and week out. And we talked about Ross Chastain. He was not a factor last year, is this year. Some of these other guys in this newer equipment. So I'm not sure personally if we're going to see that that major run that we did with him. And the year prior was Hamlin and Harvick. So I don't know, but I could be wrong. I think we might see over 17 or 16, I should say, different winners this year.
That's going to be intense.
That's
so
crazy.
All right. Do you have another bet that you're looking at?
Yeah. So I was looking at, we talk about a guy in Tyler Reddick who ran well at Coda, was really quick. And I really like a number that I found on him, which is a top 5 play at plus 200. It's a little, it's not a huge payout, but, practice and qualifying. And if he shows good speed and his equipment is fast early on, that could be a good play since, I think he just has that all around talent. So plus 200, top 5, that could be a good play for him.
I've always said that any plus money bet is a good bet if you make the right type of bet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's just a matter of you have to find the right number for you to make it a good bet. But if it's plus money, it's a good bet. Doesn't matter if it's plus 100, plus 200. Just if you make that bet, you're gonna cash it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, if you cash it, you're gonna be happy. I guess if we're being completely honest with you.
It's a good bet when it hits, right?
It's a good bet when it hits.
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking over at my other screen, so I'm sorry if my attention is split. Everybody watching out there. I'm normally an audio guy, so it doesn't matter where my eyes are focused. It just here we're on video. I gotta look straight forward, but I'm looking over here for one of my favorite. I don't know, Derek, if you use BetMGM to place bets, but they have some of the best props out there, I think, in terms of NASCAR.
What's one of them that and I think that's good to bring up because I'm looking at Barstool, I'm looking at DraftKings, BetMGM. So like shopping these lines, like we're dropping some of these numbers, but sometimes you can get them at a better book. Sometimes the books are paying closer attention to something else rather than the specific line that you're looking at. I almost overlooked last week Joey Logano top 5 plus 165, just thinking it was going to be a lower number. I almost missed out on that. Luckily was referred to that as, hey, this could be a good number when I was looking at plus 125 on DraftKings versus plus 165 on Barstool. So, shopping around, look for those different lines for sure.
Absolutely. And normally you'll be able to find, and it's a little early in the week. I mean, this is Tuesday, and normally the lines sort of filter through and you'll get a really solid set of lines by usually Thursday, by the time qualifying starts the next day and everything. So, keep an eye out, but BetMGM usually has like a number of winning car, all types of different things. I know all sites have top finishers, but I'm liking Kyle Busch as the top Toyota of the week. He's the favorite at this. He's plus 240 on BetMGM. Hamlin's at plus 400. Truex is at plus 240 as well. But I mean, Kyle Busch obviously last season at this race finished in 5th place. It was a tough race for him. He and his brother were fighting the whole way through and finished actually 4th and 5th once it was all said and done. But Kyle to me to be the top Toyota, just like he would have to beat out Martin Truex. And we've already documented how I love Martin Truex, but if I'm going to be real, probably not going to finish above Kyle Busch in this race as he hasn't really before. And that just leaves Kyle Busch. So I'll take plus 240 for Kyle Busch to finish first as the top Toyota.
Yeah. I think I was on Kurt last year in a group play, which I'm going to get to a group play here in a minute last year. So that actually brought back good memories for me. Him being I was on the right side of that. So yeah, I mean, Kyle Busch, you only have to deal with 6 Toyotas total. So the field is obviously limited, and I think the payout isn't bad.
I agree. I mean, I like it because I made it.
That's right. That's right. You justified. I helped you justify that a little bit.
Look, sometimes you just got to make yourself believe, right? That's half the battle.
Yeah.
All right. So what's one more bet that you have your eye on that you want to share with the rest of the class?
Yeah, I teased it a little bit with a group bet. There's one I really like on DraftKings. It's at plus 250. It's Austin Cindric against Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe. So, plus 250. I like that versus 3 guys. I think, I kind of highlighted a little bit earlier why I kind of liked him. And in this group specifically, I'm not sure if Christopher Bell stays on the track. He has a history of, not finishing and kind of being a little bit all over the place. You just don't know what you're going to expect. Good qualifier, but don't know what to expect during the race. Denny, we highlighted a little bit with Denny and Ross. Denny has the payback to give, not get. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then Chase Briscoe, I think he's going to be pretty good this week. But I think Cindric's just going to be a little bit better. So 250 versus those 3, plus 250 versus those 3 others. I like that.
Briscoe, the main guy who could hold a candle to Cindric in that group. You take that bet. Good job, Elliot. Take that bet. I know you said Rowdy's also a good bet, but Rowdy is always a good bet. Mm-hmm. Especially, but I tell you what, man, I'm sorry. He's such a moody teenager, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10. And I don't care. He could tell me otherwise, but half the time I feel like he's always a moody teenager. I have a moody teenager at home, so I know what they act like, and he's definitely one of those half the time. All right. I'm going to wrap it up with one of my favorite head-to-head matchups, and this, of course, is the Denny Hamlin Ross Chastain matchup.
There you go.
Here's the thing. On DraftKings right now, they're giving plus money to Denny Hamlin. Plus 105 Denny Hamlin over Ross Chastain in this matchup. How interesting is it, though? Because Denny Hamlin, we know, obviously is good wherever he goes. Obviously, he won a couple weeks ago. He finished top 8 in the race last season here. Mm-hmm. And Chastain, yeah, he won at COTA. But, this is a different animal altogether for Sonoma. And now he's got everybody in the field after him. So I'm not seeing another Chastain victory, and maybe not even a top 10, to be honest with you. Not just because I don't think anybody's going to take him out, right? This is not like the Mafia where they're going to take him out. They're going to make his life hell all day long. And you don't think, they're not going to be that long removed from the race in Illinois. So it's just going to be difficult for him to post anything more than, I think, a top 15 in this race, which gives Denny Hamlin the green light to at least beat him by 1 position, which is all you want in a head-to-head matchup. And so if you're giving me plus money on the guy, like you had said, dishing out the revenge, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's a good value. Plus money, can't hate that. So I actually like that side going into this week. So good call.
Well, if you're Elliott and you want to smash the Chastain side, it's minus 125. You're going to pay a little bit of juice. But if he, like my buddy Cody says, you only pay the juice if you lose. So
that's right.
Definitely not gonna knock you on that one. As long as you make the right bet, it's gonna pay out for you. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, I tell you what, we've come to the meaty portion of this. Let's do what we always do and wrap this up with some life advice. So this week, we're going to focus on preparing for a NASCAR race because everybody should experience one of these in their life. I'm very fortunate to have done it last season. I'm very fortunate to be able to do it again this Sunday. So if you want to attend a race in your area, Derek and I are going to give you a little bit of advice on how to prepare for our favorite tracks and really what to do to get ready to enjoy yourself a NASCAR race. So Derek, first of all, how many tracks have you been to in your life as a NASCAR fan?
I've been to 4 different tracks: Dover, Charlotte, Daytona, and Atlanta. I've been to see a race.
Nice. I love it. So, okay, out of those 4, Daytona's already gonna be your favorite, so I guess we should count that out. Was Daytona your favorite?
Daytona was my favorite racing experience. Actually, Charlotte this past 2 weeks ago was ultimately, from the start to finish. And I think it goes back to what I was saying about that marquee event. I think that excitement, yes, it was there for Daytona, which was in July at the time. and which super speedway racing is just incredible to be a part of and watch. But there's just something about being at the track, just that excitement, that buzz, and each venue is different. But I would say Charlotte was my favorite NASCAR experience that I've ever had.
All right, so let's say, because we're going to Charlotte again, right, this season.
Yeah.
So if anybody's in the area that's watching this that wants to go to Charlotte, what's 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you'd give them to prepare for this amazing weekend that is Charlotte?
Yeah, I would say take advantage of what they're doing outside the track. They had a lot of different vendors. They had food trucks. They had all the haulers, but they had a huge stage, which created a lot of buzz, which I recommend, just kind of getting that whole atmosphere, that excitement level. One thing I got was a pre-race pit pass. I highly recommend that. If anybody's going to a race for the first time, get that experience. It's a little pass, if you will, that you get to go on the track. You get to kind of walk on the infield, see the driver intros, see some of the musicians playing, and that really just kind of creates that buzz. Gives you a good idea of what the drivers see and how big like a 1.5 mile track is. So one bit of advice when you go to a track would definitely be to get that pre-race pit pass. That's really cool.
And really, if you're going to go to a NASCAR race, the main point is not just to watch the cars go around, but just like you said, take in the entire experience, because these drivers surprisingly are accessible more than your favorite football player, more than your favorite baseball player. These guys are out and about before the race, around the race, and almost right up into the start when they get into the cars. And I'll say, because Sonoma is the only race that I've been to so far, and it's the only track that I've been to. But I will say that watching the drivers sort of just, come out from the garage area and they walk along the fence line a little bit, get there early. Doesn't matter what track it is. I'm going to tell you right now, I can say this. I feel like from experience, just even being at Sonoma, get there early, because you will have the opportunity to get close enough to the drivers to where you may be able to catch one and wave one over real quick. And, none of them really shy away from signing stuff or saying hello or, whatever. But if you can get close, if you can't get the pass, get close to the fence in the garage, because, you get to meet these guys. Even if it's before the race and they're getting ready and whatever, it's just, it's such a great experience to watch. And I watched, as a media person, these drivers walk up to these kids and sign a hat, sign a card, sign whatever. And the kid just run off and be like, his day was made.
And they're fans for life.
Because what did they do? They took 5 seconds, signed a hat, shook a hand and whatever. And so during driver introductions too, they were walking by the fence and doing the same type of thing. They were walking close enough to the fence to where they were slapping hands or saying hello or signing a shirt here and there. Now there were the veteran drivers that walked more toward the other end, far away from the fans. But I guess after 20-30 years of doing that, it kind of gets a little old. But a lot of the new guys were out there just ready to say hello and shake a hand and do that stuff. So I agree with you on the pit pass too. But also, what I will say, drink the wine if you're in Sonoma. 100%.
There you go. Red wine, white wine. What are you, Rod?
A white guy. I'm more of a dryer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really drink wine. I drink beer. And Sonoma's got a lot of good beers too. A lot of good craft beers going on.
Look at that.
Yeah, take advantage of everything, because not just a race going on, but there's always an atmosphere there. In fact, there was all kinds of old stock cars outside of the racetrack too in Sonoma, and just so much to take in. And it was a blast.
And one other element that I think is so important, I experienced this when I went to Atlanta, and I did this for a couple of days with some buddies, but the camping. If you have the opportunity, if you want to stay at a hotel, that's great. Do it about 20 minutes out. It's a little bit less traffic, a little easier to kind of get to. Don't stay somewhere within a really close radius of the track. It's going to be super busy. But if you have the opportunity, do camping. Camping at the track is so unique, so cool, and it really is a community. You're going to make friends and you're going to see people that you've never met before, but everybody kind of embraces everybody, helps everybody out. It's really kind of a unique thing. I've experienced that a few times. It's just a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole nother level than like a tailgate at a football game or a baseball game. So if you have the opportunity to do camping at the track.
Cannot argue with you there. I remember when I came up, I saw a lot of the folks that were out there camping around, and it just looked like a big giant camping site, communal camping site with everybody just having a grand old time.
That's
so
cool.
I'm telling you, if you have a chance, get out to a NASCAR race, get out to a track, experience this wonderful sport that we call motorsports, because to me, like I said, all these athletes are so much more accessible than a football player ever will be. So.
And if anybody listening out there is going to a first race, tag Rod, tag myself, tag IBT Media. We want to know definitely what race you're going out to, because the more that we can create that buzz with the new fans, new viewership, it's going to be, it's what makes the sport for the next 5-10 years and above that. So definitely a good time now to go.
Absolutely. And if you're going to Sonoma, tag me. I want to know. I want to meet up with you. Yeah. I want to see you. I want to shake hands. I want to meet you, and we can experience this awesomeness that is Sonoma together. So, all right, Derek, we've come to the end of this. Man, has it already been an hour?
It's been an hour on the dot almost. So yeah.
All right, Derek, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and all of your great work?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Rod. Yeah, Twitter is the best way to get in touch with me. I try to interact with as many fans on a day-to-day basis at Picks by Blaze on Twitter. We reference the show a little bit. Rod's going to be joining as a betting expert tomorrow night on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, 8 o'clock. Live on Twitter Spaces. If you miss the show, you can always catch the replay. It's similar to a podcast, works the same way, so you can always catch a replay through your commute to work or throughout the week or just prior to the race. You can find me also on the Action Network. It's where I put all my exclusive plays, including write-ups. If you followed me, you would have known that I got on William Byron at 30-1. He's now down to 18-1. So got him yesterday. It was. So follow me on the Action Networks where I put all my plays, and that's the best way to support me.
Sharp better, my man Derek Yoder is. Love it. And yeah, definitely, if you want to win money for the rest of this NASCAR season, do nothing more than follow Derek Yoder and tail his picks, because the man is going to at least give you enough to have a great 4th of July barbecue.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no pressure for the barbecue, but I can at least, maybe help out with, the drinks and the accessories there. So yeah,
saving up for some Christmas present for the kids.
That's right. Yep.
You can find me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Follow me on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Follow that Twitter account at NASCAR Gambling. I have work that goes up on the Sportsbook Review website every week for NASCAR picks, expert picks, just all kinds of stuff going on as far as NASCAR. And if you like other sports, I cover that too. Got a horse racing piece coming out tomorrow for Sportsbook Review, NASCAR, CFL, USFL, any FLs that are out there. I'm covering it. So, and definitely make sure to follow IBT on all your socials. Wherever you're watching this right now, you already know where to find us. But if you don't, look for In Between Media, and you can find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, probably on TikTok as well. So much stuff going on. But anyways, awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Back Road. For Derek, for myself, for Seth, for Jared, for Elliot, we want to thank you all for tuning in this week. Make sure you catch us in a couple more weeks as we talk about Sonoma in the rear view and all the fabulous races that are going on between now and then. So until next time, everybody, have a great time. And I forgot how to sign us out on this. So goodbye.
See ya.